So, hey everyone, my name's Rachel. You heard me talk aloud earlier, and now I'm going to talk at you again. Today, what I want to talk about is being indispensable and why your non-music skills are as important as your musical ones. So the context I'm going to put all of this in is I did some work as a composer's assistant back when I was living in Japan. So that's where I'm going to start. Oh yes, I like my transitions. To begin a little story, right out of college, I moved straight to Tokyo, and this anime man statue is exactly what I saw when I got out of the station every day. No, all of Japan is not like this. And after I had been teaching English at a school for about a year, I had the chance to work with this fantastic human being. His name is Norihiko Hibino. You might know him best from his work on Metal Gear Solid and Bayonetta. These days he's kind of transitioned out of video games and is instead doing a lot more with music therapy, actually. So this rad boat thing is actually a speaker, which is fantastic. So he does cool things like this. But anyway, like I was saying, I got to work as his assistant. So to give a little bit more background on that and how I started with that, I was lucky enough to have an introduction from one of my professors at Berkeley. So I'd gotten in touch with him, and after being introduced, and said, "Hey, do you want to meet up maybe?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And I was like, "Okay, when are you going to be in Tokyo?" And I didn't get much of a response at first. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna follow up." But I didn't do that for a month, and I'm just gonna highlight that for a second and say, friends, please don't be like me. Don't take a month to follow up. Wait a week or two, and then politely just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" But don't take a month. That's way too long. Anyway, he's a fantastic human being. So he still found some time to meet with me. So when he came to Tokyo, I met with him. I had some questions prepared. He said, "Send in your reel," so I did. And afterwards he said, "Please come do some things with me." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds great." The real part of this that I want to really talk about, though, is what things actually probably, I'm not Norihiko, so I don't know, probably got me hired, and the things that will probably get you guys hired too, in addition to the skills that you have, right? The first thing I want to talk about is being adaptable. So being able to kind of handle whatever you get hit with. So no matter what problems you run into, to be able to look at it and break it down into smaller parts, and to be able to say, okay, maybe I can't do this, but I can figure this out anyway. I also include within this category, for me, since I was in a different country, being able to learn the language and the culture helped hugely as well. And those are pretty big things, right? On a bigger scale, being able to see the bigger picture, and by that I mean knowing where you fit within the production pipeline, and kind of knowing, just how the production process works, and knowing how you fit into that is also very important as well. And knowing that it's, obviously audio is the most important, but to understand that there are other elements to the project that are equally as important, and to be able to communicate with those other people on the team, and to know what parts they have, and how to communicate with them. Being able to do a little bit outside of whatever your area of expertise is. I do want to say that I think it's very important that you do have something that you can specialize in and say, "I am the person who does the thing. I make electronic ska, that is all I do, that is my thing." But in addition to that, if you have like an additional grounding in other areas of audio as well, so if, for example, as a composer, if you still know something about the sound design side, so that, if you're working on a small team and they can't, either afford to bring on someone else, you can still kind of fill in those different roles and be able to manage that way. I think that's incredibly valuable as well. This one is very big. Being able to finish your work reliably and on time. And to follow up on that, just showing up on time for whatever meetings you have, and things of that sort as well are huge. They are critical. I'll talk about that a little bit more after. And in my case, being able to get along with not only Norihiko, but his clients was also a fairly big deal. And that, you know, applies to any of your projects as well. Being able to get along with your team, with the people that you meet, is crucial to getting hired again and to, you know, fitting in within the project, right? I want to highlight these once again because they are just that important, right? Showing up on time, turning things in. Honestly, that's what's going to let you keep all of your jobs, right? Even if you're fantastic, the best sound designer in the entire universe, if you're like not making your deadlines, it's like, hey, I don't know, I might not be the best, right? I spent a lot of time on this. But to kind of go back a little bit to being flexible, just to emphasize how important that is in what I did with Norihiko. Like, I didn't just help with sound design, I didn't just, you know, help him with his demo reel. I kind of did a little bit of everything while I was there, and I know that was a pretty important thing. So if you are thinking about doing any kind of like assistantship to a composer, if you guys are interested in the music side, that's a great way to sort of get into that career path. Like I said before, having that variety of skills so that your composer can rely on you no matter what they might need to have done is huge, right? So, going on a little bit. I once again just kind of bringing the points back together in terms of important things. Like I said before, make sure that you're good at what you do. That's a huge part of, you know, our careers, making sure that we're experts in our field. And that is never something, you know, to be taken lightly. But, like I was saying, what you bring to a project and the things, you know, that you contribute are more than just the audio. So the reason why it's so important to show up and be on time is because you're part of this collaboration with this group as well, right? There's tons of places where they could get music and sound effects and things like that online, right? But when they pay you for your work, and, you know, they're paying you guys the big bucks, right? When they pay you that money, it's not just for your expertise in the audio, it's to collaborate with them. It's that they know that they're going to have somebody there that's reliable, that they can work with. If there's a problem, they know that you're going to be there for them. And that's worth a huge amount in the long run, right? Being part of that team is so, so important. So those soft skills that we talked about earlier, about being adaptable, about being able to, you know, communicate with the team, and just having a general idea of how you fit into that pipeline is incredibly important for attracting clients, and for making sure that you keep getting work with them later on, right? And that's the gist of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, let me know, but that is that.
What was it like working with his clients?
Honestly, so here's a crazy story. I actually represented him in a couple of meetings, which was really stressful because he wasn't there, and he was like, Rachel, you could just like hop on the Skype meeting, right? Yeah, don't worry, you got this. Just talk to them about the cutscene, and I'm like, okay. Ironically, the people that I worked with him were in another country as well. English was their primary language, so it was fine. There was no communication barriers. Thank you. Yeah, it was actually pretty awesome to just be part of that kind of three-way collaboration that we had. But yeah, so most of what I did with him client-wise was he was working on a game where he was scoring the cutscenes. So when I talked with the client, I would get information from them about like what kind of musical, you know, beats they wanted to hit, and then I would do the sound design for the cutscenes afterwards. Yeah, which is pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So what kind of stuff are you working on now?
Yes. What kind of stuff am I working on now? So now I am working on like mostly like indie games, smaller titles. after I left Japan, that was pretty recently, I'm still in touch with Norihiko. We don't do as much since I'm not over there anymore, which, follows, right? But yeah, so now it's just like, freelance work, all that fun stuff.